Hey everybody, it's Mr. Marshall here at Stony Lane. It's the last video in our summer read aloud series. We're gonna keep reading The 100 Dresses today. It's gonna be our last day. We're finishing up the book, guys. We're finishing up the book. And we have been thinking a lot of different things inside this book. We've been thinking about the issue of fitting in, right? We were thinking about how sometimes things that are not your fault make it hard to fit in, right? But we were also thinking about how sometimes we try to fit in and it makes us do the wrong thing. That's what happened to one of our characters, right? That happened to Maddie. She knew it was wrong to tease, but she wanted to fit in. So she teased someone else too. We thought a lot about Wanda, who we actually didn't even really meet in the story. But she's the one that kind of made this whole story what it was, right? We thought about Peggy, and how Peggy was so popular and she thought that she was just having fun. She was mean, but she didn't realize it. But guess what, guys? We're at the end of the book and now she's realizing it, right? So today we're going to think more about things that we think about at the end of a book. For example, we think about how characters change and why they change. We think about what the author wants us to learn about life through this book. Okay, so let's take a look and see what we learn. Ready? So we're going to read the end of the book today. This is chapter 7, the letter to room 13. It's the last chapter of the book. So let's think about all those things that we were just talking about. Ready? On Saturday, Maddie spent the afternoon with Peggy. They were writing a letter to Wanda Petronsky. It was just a friendly letter telling about the contest and telling Wanda that she had won. They told her how pretty her drawings were and that now they were studying about Winfield Scott in school, and they asked her if she liked where she was living now and if she liked her new teacher, and that they had meant to say they were sorry, but it ended up with their just writing a friendly letter, the kind that they would have written to any good friend, and they signed it with lots of X's for love. They mailed the letter to Boggins Heights, writing "Please forward" on the envelope so it would go to the new place. The teacher had not known where Wanda had moved to, so their only hope was that the post office would know. The minute they dropped the letter in the mailbox, they both felt happier because they were doing something. Days had passed and there was no answer, but the letter did not come back, so maybe Wanda had received it. Perhaps she was so hurt and angry, she was not going to answer. You couldn't blame her. And Maddie remembered the way she hitched her left shoulder up as she walked off to school alone, and how the girls always said, "Why does her dress always hang funny like that? And why does she wear those weird high-laced shoes?" They knew she didn't have any mother, but they hadn't thought about it. They hadn't thought she had to do her own washing and ironing. She only had one dress, and she must have had to wash and iron it overnight. Maybe sometimes it wasn't dry when it was time to put it on in the morning, but it was always clean. Several weeks went by, and still Wanda did not answer. Peggy had begun to forget the whole business, and Maddie put herself to sleep at night making speeches about Wanda, defending her from the great crowds of girls who were trying to tease with her, saying, "How many dresses have you got?" Before Wanda could press her lips together in a tight-lipped way, in a tight line, the way she did before answering, Maddie would cry out, "Stop! This is just a girl just like you are." And then everybody would feel ashamed the way she used to feel. Sometimes she rescued Wanda from a sinking ship or the hooves of a runaway horse. "Oh, that's all right," she'd say when Wanda thanked her with dull, pained eyes. So it sounds like the things that Peggy and Maddie were thinking about are different, right? So now it was Christmas time. There was snow on the ground. Christmas bells and a small tree decorated the classroom. And on one narrow blackboard, Jack Beggles had drawn a jolly fat Santa Claus in red and white chalk. On the last day of school before the holidays, the children in Peggy's and Maddie's class had a Christmas party. The teacher's desk was rolled back and a piano had rolled in. First the children had acted out the story of Tiny Tim, and they sang songs, and Cecile had done some dances in different costumes. The dance called "The Passing of Autumn," in which she whirled and spun like a red and golden autumn leaf, was their favorite. After the party, she said she had a surprise, and she showed the class a letter she had received that morning. "Guess who this is from?" she said. "You remember Wanda Petransky, the bright little artist who won the drawing contest? Well, she has written us a letter. She had written me, and I am glad to know where she lives because now I can send her medal. I hope it gets there for Christmas. I want to read her letter to you." And the class sat up with sudden interest and listened intently to Miss Mason as she read the letter. What must be going on inside of their hearts right now, right? Because they're different now, right? And I think this letter is going to be important. Ready? It says, "Dear Miss Mason, how are you in room 13? Please tell the girls they can keep those 100 dresses because in my new house, I have 100 new ones all lined up in my closet. I'd like that girl Peggy to have the drawing of the green dress and the red trimming, and her friend Maddie to have the blue one. For Christmas, I missed that school. And my new teacher does not equalize with you. Merry Christmas to you and everybody. Yours truly, Wanda Petransky." It sounds like Wanda's really moved on, and she's like gotten over it because she knows that wasn't nice, and she knows that these girls should have been smarter. "Yes," said Peggy, holding her drawing out to look at it under the street lamp. "And boy, this shows she really liked us. It shows that she got our letter, and this is her way of saying that everything's all right. And that's that," she said with finality. Peggy felt happy and relieved. It was Christmas, and everything was fine. "I hope so," said Maddie sadly. She felt sad because she knew she would never see that little tight-lipped Polish girl again, and couldn't ever really make things right between them. So it sounds like Maddie is really starting to feel like she made a mistake, right? She knows that. And I'm thinking she probably wouldn't ever want to do that again. Let's see if that's true. Let's see if that comes true. She went home and she pinned her drawing over a torn place in the pink flowered wallpaper in the bedroom. The shabby room came alive from the brilliancy of the colors. Maddie sat down on the edge of her bed and looked at the drawing. She had stood by and said nothing, but Wanda had been nice to her anyway. Tears blurred her eyes, and she gazed for a long time at the picture. She hastily rubbed her eyes and studied it intently. She was looking at the drawing that she had made, right? That Wanda had made. The colors in the dress were so vivid, she had scarcely noticed the face and the head of the drawing, but it looked like her, like Maddie. It really did. The same short blonde hair, blue eyes, and wide, straight mouth. But it really looked like her own self. Like this was really drawn for her. Wanda had drawn her. In excitement, she ran over to Peggy. "Peg," she said, "let me see your picture." "What's the matter?" said Peggy as they clattered up the stairs to her room where Wanda's drawing was. Maddie carefully lifted it up. "Look, she drew you." "That's you," she exclaimed, and the head and the face of this picture did look like the auburn-haired Peggy. "What did I say?" said Peggy. "She must have really liked us anyway." "Yes, she must have," agreed Maddie, and she blinked away the tears that came every time she thought of Wanda standing alone in a sunny spot in the schoolyard, close to the wall, looking stolidly over at the group of laughing girls after she had walked off, after she had said, "Sure, 100 of them, all lined up." And that is the end. Wow. What a powerful story. What a powerful story that was. And I think that in the end, Maddie and Peggy learned that there's a way to be a good friend, right? And I think we learned about that too. Just because you think something's funny in the moment doesn't mean that it's funny, right? Sometimes people will have a hard time fitting in and it's not their fault. And sometimes you just have to do the right thing, right? You just have to do the right thing and make others around you feel accepted and welcome. And don't do the wrong thing because you think others want you to, like Maddie, right? So that's it. That's the end of our summer read aloud series. And you know, if you're watching this and it's near the end of the summer, I want you to think about that as you start your new year off. And also, you know, as characters change through books, they learn things because of the things that happen to them. And maybe as you're starting your new year off, maybe you've changed over the summer. Maybe you've had experiences that have made you into a bigger, taller, better person. Take those with you to school, okay? And be a good friend and be a hard worker. And this next year is going to be the best one yet, okay? I'll see you next time.